"If you protect my son, I'll be yours forever," she said. What the cowboy said back silenced the entire frontier. The woman stood in the dust with her child pressed to her chest, her dress torn at the hem, her eyes hollow from nights without sleep. The boy was no more than a few months old, his cries weak and fading, like a match fighting the wind. Around them, men leaned on saddles and fence posts, watching. Some with hunger, some with pity, none with mercy. The cowboy had just ridden in at sundown. His horse was trail-worn, his coat faded from sun and rain, his face marked by a life that had not gone easy. Folks in town knew him only by sight. A man who kept moving. A man who did not stay long enough to belong. He had come for water and maybe a plate of beans. Nothing more. Then the woman stepped in front of him. "If you protect my son," she said, her voice steady despite the tremble in her hands, "I'll be yours forever." A low murmur rippled through the onlookers. Some smiled. Some nodded like this was how the world worked and always had. A woman cornered by hunger. A man with a gun and a name that carried weight. Everyone expected the same answer. The cowboy did not answer right away. He looked at the child first. The boy's lips were dry. His tiny fingers curled and uncurled, searching for something that was not there. The cowboy's jaw tightened. Then he looked at the woman. She was not begging. She was offering herself like a shield, hoping it would be enough to save what little she had left. The cowboy slowly dismounted. He took off his hat. That alone drew attention. Men like him did not bare their heads unless something serious was about to be said. He set the hat on the ground between them, as if laying down a marker. "No," he said. The word fell heavy. Someone laughed, thinking it was a joke. Another man scoffed. The woman blinked. For a moment, she looked as though she had been struck. The cowboy knelt so he was level with her child. His voice, when he spoke again, was low, meant for her alone, but it carried. "I'll protect your son," he said. "But not like that." The town went quiet. "I won't own you," he continued. "And I won't buy what should never be sold." The men shifted, uncomfortable now. This was not the kind of answer the West was used to. The woman's arms trembled. "Then why?" she asked. The cowboy stood and turned so everyone could hear him. "Because he's a child," he said. "And because this place has forgotten what that means." A rancher near the hitching post spat into the dirt. "World don't run on kindness," he muttered. The cowboy met his gaze. "Then it's time someone reminded it how." That night, the woman and her son slept in the barn beside the cowboy's horse. He gave the boy what little milk he could find, traded his last silver coin for it. He sat by the door until morning, rifle across his knees, eyes open. By dawn, word had spread. Some said the woman was trouble. Others said the child wasn't even his. A few warned the cowboy to move on before he got tangled in something that would cost him. He listened to none of it. He rode out that morning and returned with food. Not much, but enough. He showed the woman where the creek ran clean beyond the hills and how to keep low when moving. He never touched her, never asked her name. For 3 days, he stayed. On the 4th, trouble came riding in. They were men from the southern range. Hard men. The kind who took what they wanted and called it law. They had heard about the woman. About the deal she had offered. About the cowboy who had turned it down. One of them laughed when he saw her. "Heard you were giving yourself away," he said. Guess he didn't want the trouble. The cowboy stepped between them. "She's under my protection," he said. "And what does she cost?" Another man sneered. The cowboy's eyes were cold. "Nothing." The laughter died. The fight was short and brutal. Dust and blood mixed under the sun. When it was over, 2 men lay groaning, and the rest rode off with fear in their eyes. The town watched in silence. That night, the woman spoke again. She told the cowboy her name. She told him about her husband, killed on the trail. About the towns that turned her away. About the nights she thought the desert would take them both. "You could have taken me," she said quietly. "No one would have blamed you." The cowboy stared into the fire. "I would have blamed myself." Days turned into weeks. The cowboy did not leave. He built a small shelter near the creek. He hunted. He taught the woman how to set snares and read the sky. He showed her how to load a rifle and how to stand her ground. The boy grew stronger. People noticed. Some began leaving food by the edge of the camp. Others stopped crossing themselves when they passed. A few even spoke to the woman like she was human again. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the land gold, the woman stood beside the cowboy. "You saved us," she said. He shook his head. "You saved him. I just stood in the way." She looked at him then, really looked. Not as a shield, not as a last hope, but as a man. "Stay," she said, not as a bargain, not as a plea, just a word. He did not answer right away. The boy laughed nearby, chasing dust with his hands. The sound caught in the cowboy's chest. "I can't promise forever," he said finally. "But I can promise tomorrow." She smiled. That was enough. Years later, folks would tell the story wrong. They would say the woman offered herself and the cowboy took her. They would say it was love at first sight or some grand romance born of desperation. But the truth was quieter. The truth was that on a dusty evening, in a world built on taking, one man chose to protect without owning. And in doing so, he gave a child a future, a woman her dignity, and himself a place to finally stand still. And that choice echoed longer than any gunshot ever could.